perfect day to reveal a secret you've been keeping, and if the person you tell reacts badly, you can just pass it off as a prank. Honey, I've been sexting with your sister. What did you say? April Fools! You raised my iPhone. Now, this year, as you can imagine, no one is ever going to be pranked. In fact, governments around the globe, including Thailand and Germany, have warned their citizens not to spread hoaxes or to prank anybody relating to the coronavirus. And let's just take a moment to realize how crazy things have gotten. That world leaders in countries like Germany are out here like, guys, let's call it this a coronavirus, yeah? Pranks this year are not cool, okay? Don't be pranking. Can't be like dunking your balls or telling people the virus kills inside your butt and they have to smell your butt, okay? If you want someone to smell your butt, just ask them this year, right? No pranks, okay? Yeah? Jawohl, good. In other news, there are now 900,000 confirmed coronavirus cases around the globe, and what's disturbing is that some countries are experiencing a second wave of the crisis. For instance, in Hong Kong, they successfully social distanced, saw their numbers drop, relaxed their quarantine rules, and now they've been hit with a new wave of infections. Yeah, a new wave of coronavirus. And I feel so bad for these Asian countries, because whether it's coronavirus or Godzilla, every time they think it's gone, it comes back again for another movie. Now, while some Asian countries are dealing with a second wave of coronavirus, other countries are dealing with a wave of their own stupidity. The Malaysian government was forced to apologize after they issued guidelines which told wives that they should not be nagging their husbands too much during quarantine, which is obviously incredibly sexist, but also, people, as stressful as quarantine is, this is not the time for husbands and wives to be fighting each other, alright? Husbands and wives need to come together to fight the true enemy, their kids. Don't let those cute faces fool you. They'll shit right on your lap and laugh while doing it. Meanwhile, back here in the Philippines, coronavirus cases have now passed the 200,000 mark, and the number of deaths has reached 4,000. They successfully social distanced, saw the wave, a new wave of coronavirus. And I feel so bad for these Asian countries, because whether it's coronavirus or Godzilla, every time they think it's gone, it comes back again for another movie. Now, while some Asian countries are dealing with a second wave of coronavirus, other countries are dealing with a wave of their own stupidity. The Malaysian government was forced to apologize after they issued guidelines which told wives that they should not be nagging their husbands too much during quarantine, which is obviously incredibly sexist, but also, people, as stressful as quarantine is, this is not the time for husbands and wives to be fighting each other, alright? Husbands and wives need to come together to fight the true enemy, their kids. Don't let those cute faces fool you. They'll shit right on your lap and laugh while doing it. Meanwhile, back here in the United States, coronavirus cases have now passed the 200,000 mark, and the number of deaths has reached 4,000, doubling in just 3 days. The one thing I love about America is that even in the most difficult times, there are always people who try and find joy.
Neighbors in Buffalo, New York are getting outside. They're having a block party every night, dancing together while keeping their social distance. Looks like fun.
Tell me that's not sweet, huh? I love this for so many reasons. One, it's amazing to see people finding ways to connect with others while keeping their physical distance. And seeing this many white people dancing offbeat, it almost makes me feel like the world is back to normal again. I miss those days. And also, that is my dream party that they were having. Yeah, a party where you can go out on your front step, dance for a little bit, and then when you're ready to leave, all you have to do is turn around and then you're back home. Sign me up. But let's move on to the big story, the White House, or as they call it in D.C., the bad part of town. The big story right now is that President Trump, who usually treats his daily briefings like the last scene in Scarface, came out yesterday and acted for the first time ever like he had also been reading the news.
President Trump just moments ago with a somber tone.
President Trump is taking this darker tone.
He was as grim as he's been through this entire crisis. I want every American to be prepared for the hard days that lie ahead. We're going to go through a very tough 2 weeks. You're going to start seeing some real painful, very, very painful 2 weeks.
God damn. Donald Trump, for the first time, at least sounds like he's afraid of this virus. And if he's taking it seriously, then we should be really scared. Because, I mean, this guy takes nothing seriously. This is the same dude who stared at an eclipse like it was a magic eye painting. The same dude who sang Hakuna Matata when he assassinated a general in Iran. The same dude who responded to a hurricane with a paper towel three-point contest. So this is a side of Donald Trump we don't often get. I haven't seen Trump this somber since Maury told him that he was Eric's father. And if the president is finally treating the crisis with a little more respect, maybe it's because of the numbers. Right? The White House has just released their first official projections of coronavirus deaths, and they are terrifying. Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci said that according to their numbers, even if America did everything right, we could still see 100,000 to 240,000 deaths from coronavirus. And I don't care what anybody says, that is a staggering number. Even in Call of Duty, if you saw that many deaths, you'd be like, I think I've been playing this too much. I'm going to switch to Animal Crossing for a while. While the president may finally be grasping the gravity of this outbreak, he and his allies continue to make excuses for why it took him so long to respond.
Mr. McConnell, he said that impeachment diverted the attention of the government. Do you think that in any way, this was happening and building at the same time, did it divert your attention or your team's attention or the vice president's attention?
Well, I don't like to think I did. I think I handled it very well, but I guess it probably did. I mean, I got impeached. I think, I certainly devoted a little time to thinking about it, right? So, when you say that, yeah.
Ah, yes, in classic Trump fashion, the president wants to have it both ways. I acted properly with Corona, but I was also distracted by impeachment. But my response has been perfect, but impeachment is why I messed up. And I gotta say, if Trump was so easily distracted from dealing with the looming pandemic, then that's bad news. Because then America basically has a puppy as its president. Yeah, one little thing can distract him. Next time America wants to invade Iraq, they should just throw a frisbee by Trump's head and that'll distract him for a month. It went that way. And it's funny how Trump and McConnell are trying to make it seem like the government stopped in its tracks because of impeachment. Because the truth is, Trump still found plenty of time to do the things that he wanted to do while impeachment was happening. He imposed new restrictions on immigration. He increased sanctions on Iran. He unveiled a new peace plan for Israel and the Palestinians. And of course, he had a lot of time to play a shit ton of golf. So unless he was searching for coronavirus in a sand trap, I don't think this excuse checks out. And impeachment isn't the only excuse that Trump has used to try and explain why it took him so long to try and stop the coronavirus outbreak. He also blamed China for covering up the seriousness of coronavirus. And yes, it is true. China did censor information about this disease in its early stages, and that didn't help. But President Trump was warned about coronavirus by his advisors as early as January 18, and he dismissed it for months. So as much as Trump wants to blame China for downplaying the virus, he himself ignored all the messages that his experts were giving him. And he didn't ignore them once. He didn't ignore them twice. He ignored them countless times. Like, if we were back in Bible times, Trump would have heard the burning bush and just thrown water on it. Finally, that bush was so annoying. So to try and avoid taking responsibility for the government's slow response to coronavirus, Trump has blamed impeachment and China. But as always, there's only one person who Trump loves to blame for everything that goes wrong in his life: Barack Hussein Obama. You see, Trump has claimed that the reason America fell so far behind other countries when it came to coronavirus testing is because of the rules that the Obama administration made. Now, the only thing is, nobody has been able to find these rules that Trump is talking about. So that means either Trump is lying, which is unlikely, or it means Obama did block Trump from doing the tests. But then he hid his evidence in the same place that he hid his birth certificate. Magical Kenyan strikes again. So, Trump is still making excuses for not reacting sooner to this crisis. But on the outside, it seems like he's at least starting to act like he's taking the threats of this pandemic a little more seriously. And I hope he is taking it seriously because, let's be real, this is still Donald Trump, people. Right? I wouldn't be shocked if he acted like this, and then tomorrow he comes out like, April Fools, I'll see you losers on Easter. Did you see me acting sad? Well, that's our show for today. Before we go, we want to keep reminding you that doctors and nurses out there need our help to get the protective gear that they need. So please, if you can help, go to Thrive Global's First Responders First and donate whatever you can to help them get PPE so that the people saving lives right now can protect themselves. And if you want to help in New York specifically, you can go to New York Mayor's Fund COVID-19 Response and donate there. Stay safe out there, wash your hands, remember to change your underwear at least once a week, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
We're in no way that powerful. Has history really been altered that much?
Governor Whitner, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us on the Daily Social Distancing Show. How are you holding up?
You know, we're hanging in. We've got a lot of challenges, and there are a lot of people that are getting sick from COVID-19, and we don't have enough masks and enough PPE for our first responders, but they're doing it, and I'm working my tail off to support them.
Your state now has, last I checked, the third highest cases of coronavirus in the United States. Dr. Fauci himself said that he's worried about Detroit and Michigan as a whole. Do you have any explanation for why you're seeing such a rapid growth in the cases of your state? Is it because of being a transportation hub? Is it because of an explosion in testing? What do you think is going on right now?
I think there are a lot of things that contribute to it. Detroit is an international destination, and it is with our big airport. We got a lot of people traveling in and out. We've got, serious poverty issues as well. 40% of our residents live below the ALICE standards, and we know that poverty is a pre-existing condition, right? If you don't have access to health care, if you've got higher rates of diabetes or coronary disease, these are all things that exacerbate an illness. But COVID-19 is, without a cure, without a vaccine, highly contagious and deadly. We're finding that it's just growing exponentially despite all of the aggressive actions we've taken on the front end, and that's why we need as much help as we can get through more PPE and support for our medical professionals.
Let's talk a little bit about getting as much help as you can get. Right now across America, it seems like there's a huge divide and there's a disconnect in understanding whether or not the federal government should be stepping up or whether or not states should be going at it alone. We know that your state has been asking for supplies. It sounds like your state is not getting the supplies that it needs, but then there are states like Florida where they've gotten 100% of what they've asked for, and they are nowhere near close to being in the situation that your state is in. Does it feel like there are politics at play with regards to what relationship the state has with the president?
Well, all I can say is this, the fact of the matter is it's on all of us to remember that the enemy is the virus. It's not one another. It's not the federal government versus the states. My experience is similar to that of a lot of other governors, and Republican and Democratic, frankly, that we're not getting as much as we hope to from the federal government, and so we've got to supplement that by contracting with anyone we can find masks from or test kits from. And we're ending up bidding against one another, and it's really a destructive way about going, to fix this problem. A national strategy with a national buying power that actually ensured everyone had equitable access to what we need when we need it would be the wisest thing to do. But we're in this situation, and like governors across this country, I'm going to do everything I can. So whether it is working with businesses inside Michigan, like the big three who are stepping up to start producing components to ventilators, we're going to see, the arsenal of innovation is going to be right here within our borders, but we've got a lot of work to do. The unfortunate thing is our need is right now. We have a need for not just PPE, but for volunteers. We're looking for people to come into Michigan and help us meet our need. And, any of your viewers who are interested in that can go to michigan.gov/fightcovid19 and join the fight with us, because it's got to be all hands on deck, and we are a hot spot right now.
It's hard to talk with you or speak with you and not ask you about the comments the president made about you. I think you have a shirt that might be exactly that. That woman from Michigan, an extremely dismissive statement, and one that sparked a conversation across the country, where Trump flat out said, if you are not nice to him, he will not help you. I believe that Vice President Mike Pence still called you. Is it difficult for you during this period to be dealing with politics whilst at the same time trying to deal with a crisis?
I don't think any of us has energy to deal with politics right now. All of our energy, all of our focus has to be on meeting the needs of our people. Yes. People are dying. Every day we are announcing, the additional people that have tested positive for COVID-19, the number of lives that are lost. Those are stories. Those are people who leave loved ones and family. Those are people who relied on a healthcare system to meet their needs and frontline providers who put their own health at risk to take care of others. I don't have any time to think about fighting anything other than COVID-19, and that's precisely why the enemy, this virus, is.
Right now, we know we are chasing a few things. We're hoping to get a vaccine. We're hoping to find treatments for the virus. We're hoping to get ventilators and PPE for people who are treating the coronavirus. But beyond that, all most people can do is stay at home and stay away from other people. As a governor of a large state where many people work in blue-collar jobs and they work from paycheck to paycheck, do you worry about a tipping point where people no longer see the positive effects of waiting at home and say, no, we're going to go back out into the streets? Are you worried about that at all?
Of course I am. Each of these orders that we issue as governors weigh heavily on us. When I close bars, I know that means there are going to be people who get laid. I know it means that there will be businesses that will struggle to ever reopen again. I know that 1.5 million kids in my state are not in school and they need an education. And half of them get their meals at school because of free and reduced lunch. Every decision we make weighs heavily and has ramifications. And I do worry that people will get impatient or start to get feeling, cabin fever being at home so much. And yet we know with a novel virus for which there's no cure and there's no vaccine and it spreads incredibly, aggressively and it's deadly, that the best thing we can do is not to see one another. And it's really hard for people to get their minds around, but this virus can't transfer from one person to the next if we're not together. And so staying at home is doing your part. And it is a sacrifice, and we recognize that. But that's why it's so important that we make it easier for people to stay home. They're worried about paying their bills. They're worried about putting food on the table. So making sure that we are able to have that kind of support that people need is really important for the health of the individual, for the health of communities, for the health of our economy in the long run. And that's why everyone's got to do their part.
Well, I'm hoping everyone takes your word. Hopefully, the federal government will be getting you what you need, and good luck to you and your constituents. Hopefully, we'll be speaking to you on the other side.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for your time, Governor.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Kevin Love, welcome back to the show, but technically welcome for the first time to the daily social distancing show. How are you holding up?
It's been a different time to navigate, I think, for all of us. It's just ridden with a lot of stress, anxiety, the unknown. I mean, forget sports for a moment, just, every walk of life and really everywhere in the world. The U.S. with the most cases now, you have to tip your hat to, really the heroes in this time is grocery store workers, pharmacy, people working at the pharmacy, but really the doctors and nurses. I mean, they're really putting in, a lot of time. But this has been, like I said, a different time to navigate and find ways to keep busy mentally and physically.
They look weak.
It definitely has been a difficult time to navigate, but it feels like the NBA and many of its players have stepped up in a really powerful and unique way. I remember the shock when the NBA announced that they were suspending the season. I mean, nobody thought it would happen. And then very quickly we started to hear stories about how many people who worked in these arenas wouldn't have a job. And you were one of the first players who stepped up and said, hey, I'm going to give my own personal money to help pay for these people. I'm going to help raise money to pay for these people's salaries. And then the owners started stepping in. Other players did as well. Why did you feel it was so important for you to do that? And how did you get everybody mobilizing? What was the attitude of the NBA?
Yeah, well, it was about, I guess Wednesday would be 3 weeks, since that night in Oklahoma City when it was the Jazz versus OKC, and I woke up the next day just thinking about, kind of like I mentioned, the stress and anxiety of this time and not knowing when or if these people and these families are going to be able to put food on their table. I mean, a lot of these people are living paycheck to paycheck, and these are people that are a part of not only my story, but the Cavs organization. And you start to develop a first name basis and first name relationship with these people, and start to ask about their family. And you see them when you come into the arena, see them when you leave the arena. So I thought it was important to just take care of people that have taken care of me so long and are part of my story, honestly, on and off the floor.
Yeah, human beings are resilient, but you're right. Everybody needs help getting through it, especially now. One of the things I've always appreciated about you is how open you've been in discussing anxiety, depression, opening up that conversation in the NBA, and then getting people more comfortable speaking about how to deal with these issues in society. Coronavirus has presented a completely unique challenge for many people who suffer from anxiety or even depression, where many of your circles are removed from you. Many people don't have the networks that keep them, mentally as healthy as they'd like to be. What have you been doing during this period, and what advice would you give people out there who go, Kevin, I'm not coping, and it feels like this is triggering everything that gets me to the place I don't want to be in?
Well, I could say it right back at you. I got to tip the hat because I know that, this mental health has been a part of your story as well. So just, continuing to create community in that aspect. I think that's a huge thing during this time. People will look back, they're not going to look back on their deathbed and say, hey, I wish I would have earned more money. I wish I would have, had more fame. They're going to say, that those relationships are really what brought them joy and happiness. So I feel like that sense of community, especially since I had shared my story, I'm sure it's the same for you, especially with your book, that, a lot of people came out, in droves and large numbers and just expressed kind of the things that they had gone through and things that they had experienced, whether it be, firsthand or somebody, just removed from their inner circle. Because we all have people that go through stuff, and we all grieve and deal with loss at one point or another. But this social isolation has been, speaking of navigating this time, very, very different. I had done an NBA All-Star. I've done a panel with Giannis and Chris Paul, Mike Wilbon, and President Obama. It's a social issue. Like during this time, especially when it comes to mental health and depression and anxiety, that it's the isolation and it's the loneliness that is so devastating during this time. And that really stuck with me when he said that, because I think that's sometimes lost on people. And I'm fortunate to have a lot of great friends in my life and be able to talk with people like you that can scale up this message and allow people to further these conversations. But that loneliness part of it is very, very scary, and I think it's important for people to know it's normal to feel this way.
Right. Let me ask you this before I let you go. Everyone is wondering how the NBA is going to come back, if and when it comes back for this season. People are hoping the NBA can kick off in maybe late May, maybe June, maybe July. Everyone knows that means the season is going to be compressed, but the NBA has said they want a champion. So would you rather have it that the season just becomes really short and it's almost like a playoffs to a playoffs? Or would you rather the season goes later in the year and then the next season starts a little bit later? Or you just go straight? What would you hope as the ideal scenario for the NBA right now?
Okay, so I'm going to answer the second part first, because I've had this conversation with a number of guys as well as a couple of coaches and former coaches, is that we have the best schedule. It's a scholastic schedule. You get summers off. So selfishly, and I've done it for 25 years now of organized basketball, is that we've always had that schedule where it's been September and October through, if you go all the way to the finals, it's through June, and then we get the summers off. So we have it really good, and that's not lost on any of us. And obviously drastic times, drastic measures, but we would like to keep the same schedule, 82 games. But I would see a situation where, because guys might come in a little out of shape and don't know how to get through this time because it is new, that they will then have like a 2-week training camp, play 10 games, and then it'll go into some sort of a playoff scenario. I don't know if they'll play 7 games or they'll play a 5-game series that we haven't seen in such a long time, and then they'll have the finals. But I do think because we've had so many of these sports taken away from us that the ratings will be incredibly high, and it'll be, in basketball how it is, it'll be anybody's game, anybody's championship. So as a fan myself, that'll be fun to watch.
Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time, man. I hope you keep in shape and stay safe out there, man. Good luck to you, and hopefully we'll be seeing you on the court sooner than later.
All right, likewise. Thanks, bud.
Hey, everybody. Trevor Noah here. Welcome to another episode of the Daily Social Distancing Show. It is now day 16 of staying at home to prevent the spread of coronavirus. And here's your quarantine tip of the day. If you're at home and you're bored trying to sterilize everything, I've got a tip for you. If you hold your cleaning product like a gun, you'll feel like you gangster whipping every germ's ass. Pop, 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 pop. Break yourself, corona fool. Anyway, tonight, we're going to catch up on all the latest coronavirus news. New York is putting hospitals everywhere. President Trump loses a trivia contest, and we try to figure out what day it is. So, welcome to the Daily Social Distancing Show.
From Trevor's couch in New York City to your couch somewhere in the world, this is the Daily Social Distancing Show with Trevor Noah.
Let's kick it off with some good news. According to thermometers, social distancing might work. Yeah, the company Kinza Health, which makes smart thermometers that upload users' temperatures to the internet, reports that fevers across the United States are dropping dramatically. Now, these thermometers accurately predicted the rise in coronavirus hospitalizations, so if they're showing dropping fevers, that's a promising sign. So please, people, let's stay at home, let's stay inside, and keep flattening that curve, so that someday we can go back to our normal lives, Don't you want to go outside again, be out there, cutting each other off in traffic, complaining about your allergies, being invited to your friend's improv show? Now that I say it, maybe quarantine isn't that bad. Maybe we should just stay here a little longer. Also, there are some positive signs coming out of the epicenter of this pandemic, New York. Recently, it has gone from being the city that never sleeps to the city that lays awake at night filled with existential dread. But the good news is that, faced with the prospect of overrun hospitals, the city is adapting. The enormous Javits Convention Center has now been converted into a hospital with 1,000 beds. There's an emergency field hospital being constructed in Central Park. Entire hotels will soon be rented out and converted into hospitals. And 5,000 new ICU beds were recently installed inside one of Mayor de Blasio's shoes. Basically, any giant spaces are being filled with beds, even if they kind of smell. Also, some more good news. The Navy has sent over the U.S. hospital ship Comfort, great name, which docked here in New York yesterday. The Comfort has 1,000 hospital beds on board, which New Yorkers are very excited about. In fact, so excited that yesterday a crowd gathered to welcome the boat to the city, which is obviously extremely counterproductive in social distancing land. But it also shows you how much New York has changed. Yeah, because normally we hate it when people show up to the city. Like a month ago, New Yorkers would have gathered to throw rats at that boat. Your mother says hello! And beds aren't the only reinforcements New York is getting right now. Over 76,000 doctors and nurses, many of them who are already retired, have volunteered to step up and help out during this crisis, which is pretty amazing. And a few days ago, a flight full of healthcare workers from Georgia flew to New York to help lend a hand. And I'm really grateful to them. And I also just hope that they didn't land at LaGuardia. They'd walk around the terminal like, we're too late, the city is already destroyed. Be like, no, this is what it normally looks like. And I'm really grateful for those doctors from Georgia. Not only because their help is needed, but also because doctors from Atlanta will probably be the most entertaining doctors you've ever had. They'll be mumble rapping their diagnosis. You have a corona, and the virus has even the stuff in the center, so woo, we're up in the ribbon again, but woo. So, thank you, Georgia. We're not going to forget this. New York will not forget what Georgia has done for us. In fact, when this is all over, New York is going to send some of its subway masturbators to your state just to say thanks. And speaking of appreciation, last night, the Empire State Building lit up like a siren to honor all the medical workers serving on the front lines of this epidemic. Now, this might have been a good idea when they first pitched it, but I will tell you, as someone who lives in New York, it was terrifying. The Empire State Building, giant light flashing around. And can you imagine if someone was high in their living room? They must have freaked out. Just like, shit, dude. I think we're getting pulled over by that building. But look, just because there are some signs for optimism doesn't mean we should become complacent, people. Right? Because remember, coronavirus is still growing around the globe. Worldwide, there are now 800,000 cases in at least 171 countries. You know, with the spread of coronavirus, we're learning so many things. We're learning how fragile our medical systems are. We're learning that we need a stronger safety net in society. We're learning we need to pay teachers more. We're learning that thinking about exercise isn't the same as actually doing it. We're also learning which leaders around the world deserve the title of leader. For instance, in Hungary, President Viktor Orban has convinced his parliament to let him rule by decree until the pandemic is over, which essentially makes him a dictator for as long as he wants. Although I'm not going to lie, being a dictator during coronavirus is a little less fun. It's going to be like, I sentence you to torture, which you need to administer to yourself because it is not safe for other people to touch you. So can you torture yourself over Zoom and you can send me the video? No, I don't have Zoom. Then I guess there would be no torture. I wish I had Zoom. And over in Belarus, another leader is President Lukashenko. He's probably one of the worst because he's refusing to cancel public sporting events and instead has been recommending that Belarusians avoid getting the virus by just going to the sauna and then taking a couple shots of vodka 2 to 3 times a week. That's a real thing a president said. Yeah. And you know your medical advice is bad when it makes Goop look reasonable. Because, I mean, Goop may tell you to put an egg in your vagina, but at least they tell you to do it at home and wash your hands first. Now, if you're going to talk about leaders who don't deserve the title leader, you would be remiss if you didn't mention the man himself, the President of the United States, Donald Jericho Trump. Every day he shows us why he is not the right leader for this moment or any other moment. And look, luckily, he decided to back off his plan to quickly reopen the economy by Easter. But he does continue to make a fool of himself. Like yesterday, he tried to show off to everyone how much he knows about South Korea, and he failed spectacularly.
At one point during this press conference, the president said that he knows South Korea better than anybody.
Mr. President, you said several times that the United States has ramped up testing, but the United States is still not testing per capita as many people as other countries like South Korea.
I know South Korea better than anybody. It's a very tight. Do you know how many people are in Seoul? Do you know how big the city of Seoul is? 38 million people. That's bigger than anything we have. 38 million people.
For the record, almost 10 million people live in Seoul, not 38 million.
Wow. Trump was so wrong, but with so much confidence. I would pay anything to see him be a contestant on The Price is Right. So, what's your bid on this new dishwasher? That's easy. $57 billion, Drew. What? I know it all. See, this is why I don't really think Trump is a billionaire. Not because he's a liar, not because he's a fraud, just because I don't think he understands how numbers work. He's like, okay, Trump Tower, that's worth $80 billion, plus Mar-a-Lago, another $52 billion. I'm worth $675 billion, folks. But once again, this just proves that if you say a number with confidence, anyone will believe you. 98% of people know that. So look, there are many leaders around the world who are failing right now. But the good news is, there are many other leaders who are rising to the occasion. South Korea's leaders handed their coronavirus policies to medical experts, and it quickly brought the virus under control. South Africa's president has been lauded for being quick to shut down the country and laying out plans. And here in America, in the absence of leadership from the White House, governors from California to Ohio are stepping up to fill the void. Basically, what's happening in America is whatever happens when a family has like an alcoholic dad and then the kids just have to raise themselves, that's what's going on in the US right now. Yeah, Trump is AWOL, so the kids are just like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna drive to the supermarket. Yeah, I'll just drive myself. Kathy, do you wanna make lunch? And the one governor who's crushing it the most right now is Andrew Cuomo. Yes, thanks to his handling of the coronavirus, his approval rating has soared to a 7-year high. And this is crazy, he's even becoming something of a coronavirus crush for many people. Yeah, people online are falling in love with him because of coronavirus and how he's handling it. And I'm not gonna lie, those people include me. My Tinder profile now lists me as a Cuomo-sexual. And the thing that I've been enjoying about Cuomo is that in these dark times, he also provides us with some entertainment. It's not just facts, it's not just plans, it's entertainment. I wait for his interviews on CNN that he has with his brother because they always yield gems like this.
Let me ask you something. With all of this adulation that you're getting for doing your job, are you thinking about running for president? Tell the audience. No. No, you won't answer? No, I answered. The answer is no. No, you're not thinking about it?
Sometimes it's one word. I said no.
Have you thought about it?
No.
Are you open to thinking about it?
No.
Might you think about it at some point?
No.
How can you know what you might think about at some point right now?
Because I know what I might think about and what I won't think about. But you're a great interviewer, by the way.
Appreciate it. Learn from the best.
Okay, from now on, we should make it a rule that every single politician has to be interviewed by their siblings. Because siblings don't give a Did you see how he interrogated him? Are you running for president? No. Are you running for president? No. Are you running for president? Leave me alone. Leader says what? What? Ah, you got me.
See ya.
So look, right now, leaders around the world who are messing up, they might want to take this crisis a little more seriously. Because remember this, coronavirus will disappear someday, but your screw-ups will never go away. Not even with a sauna and a couple shots of vodka. Well, that's our show for today. Before we go, though, don't forget, doctors and nurses and first responders around the country are still struggling to get the masks, gloves, and gowns that they need to protect themselves. But you can help. So, please go to Thrive Global's First Responders First and donate whatever you can to get PPE to the people saving lives right now. And if you want to help in New York City specifically, then you can go to the New York Mayor's Fund COVID-19 response and donate there. Stay safe out there, wash your hands, don't murder your roommates, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
Unfortunately, I don't really have anything positive to say. So I'd rather not talk about it. Over! It's over! It's over! It's over! It's over!
Used to be if you wanted to get people on board with the cause, you did it through speeches, marches, or getting Leo DiCaprio to give it. But two anti-racist activists think they found a better way to get people to take a stand against racism. And you don't even have to leave your apartment.
Safety Pin Box is a monthly subscription box for white people who want to be allies in the fight for black liberation.
So y'all saw Blue Apron, it was like, boom, that's how we solve racism.
That's the idea.
But instead of mailing white people stuff they're excited about, like purple potatoes, this box contains monthly instructions on how to not be racist, and 25% of the profits go to black female activists. They also throw in a sticker or a wristband, racism swag.
And it's $100 a month.
$100?
$100?
Seriously, white guilt runs that deep. $100 deep. Because I've seen the news. I've seen them red hats. White people ain't feeling guilty these
No,
days.
they're not.
Well, we are coming up on 1,000 subscribers.
Y'all lying.
It's over!
Y'all lying.
Nope.
1,000 people seen you.
We're just as surprised as you are.
Mm-hmm. We really are with these white people. Their business was running like a well-oiled machine. With one surprising element, white labor. Do you pay him? No.
I don't know about you, Trunks, but
Come on to freedom. I had to follow these white tears to the source, a subscriber. But what kind of crazy white person wants to spend $100 a month to feel bad about themselves?
The safety pin box has been life-changing. It's incredible. I absolutely love it.
You love it?
I do.
Is this box worth $100?
I'd even go 150.
Wow. Was she just guilty, or was she really part of the struggle? On a scale of 1 to 10, how woke would you say you are?
I wouldn't use that term. As a white person trying to dismantle racism and systemic oppression, you don't become woke. You don't get to this level.
So you say about a 6.
If I'm not doing something to stop it, then I'm adding to racism in our culture. It's up to me as a white person with power and privilege to use that to help bring other white folks along.
She talked the woke talk here in her apartment, doing her little racism homework. But what about the real world? It was time to go undercover for black liberation. My mission? Find out if Kate can practice what she learned in the safety pin box. So I hopped in my police surveillance van, wired up Kate for sound, and put her on the streets, or the white version of the streets, the park. All right, Kate, we're live.
Hey, did you know that the school-to-prison pipeline...
It's hard, right?
I guess maybe he knows already. Hey, are you two talking about ways that you could be better allies to black people?
No.
You're not? Why not?
We have other things. Jesus.
Did you know this nation is built on the backs of slaves?
Where did you come from?
This was painful to watch. Surprise, surprise. A lot of people don't want to talk about race. Oh, here goes something for you, Kate. Ask him if he can explain why in the year 2017 a black person still has to deal with school-to-prison pipeline, police harassment, online harassment, offline harassment,
disproportionate corporate pollution,
privatization of prisons.
Privatization of prisons.
Gotta run faster than that if you want to stop racism. White on white woke talk was easy. Time to go next level.
I just want to first of all apologize
for all the appropriation.
That we've done.
Don't worry about that. I'm sorry for La La Land.
And I'm sorry for La La Land.
Welcome to the black lady on the computer. Tell her you're sorry for all the white people that have ever asked to touch her hair.
I just wanted to apologize for all the white people who ever asked to touch your hair. Totally not cool. We know they do it. I just want to say sorry. That's the one thing I want to say. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for your time.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That was actually really nice.
Guy with the red hat on. Ask him if he's paid reparations. And when he says no, ask him if he'd like to buy the 2 black women coffee.
Do you mind? Yeah. Have you paid reparations?
For everything.
For everything.
I've never paid reparations for anything.
Okay. How do you feel about buying these 2 women coffee? Would you be up for that?
Sure.
Yeah?
Reparations, but it's a start. Courtesy.
It's a start, though, right? It's a start.
Ask them how they want their slavery coffee.
How would you make your reparation coffee?
This is like the best thing ever.
Interracial dialogue, and she got reparations from the guy in the red hat. I had to go back and tell Leslie and Marissa the great news. Their box was working. I spent a lot of time with one of the subscribers. Y'all basically solved racism. She fully woke.
We're not vested in that. That's not how we measure our success. Our success is measured in how much money we can give to black women. Yeah, we've given away $60,000 since January, so.
Do you care if white people do any of the stuff in the box?
Do I care as in, am I losing sleep over it? Nah. That's between you and your white Jesus.
Don't say that. White people do that too.
I care if their credit card's clear.
Y'all have basically tricked white people into giving us reparations.
Pay us what you owe us.
Oh my gosh. We heard about the March for Our Lives in D.C., but there was another march going down all the way out in Helena, Montana. And out here at this march, people were taking a stand for the real victims of gun violence. Guns.
We're blessed to live in a state
that believes in individual rights.
If it wasn't for Donald J. Trump, your Second Amendment right now would be gone.
And that's why they're out celebrating guns of all types.
We're gun-toting Americans.
Do you think our founding fathers would approve of the AR-15?
Yeah, I want a tank. That's what I want.
Wait, you want a tank?
I should have a tank because I should be equally armed with whatever the government has.
So you're out here for the tank rally?
Yeah, the tank rally.
These tank-wielding badasses have a solution to stop school shootings.
We should have armed teachers. We'd be more than willing to bring them in and train them absolutely for free.
All teachers?
If they can pass a background check.
Dude, our teacher can't pass a background check. They're high as
I'm here because I want the kids to be safe.
Is it safer to have a gun?
Oh, absolutely. Firearms keep absolutely people safe.
But filling our schools with guns isn't their only solution.
Clear backpacks. Because you know that the student does not have a gun or something dangerous in that backpack.
But I thought everybody was supposed to have a gun.
Well, schools and, but if it's a gun-free zone, then you don't want guns there.
But you just said we needed more guns in schools.
We also need clear backpacks.
Yeah, clear backpacks. What else? What is the answer to stopping school shootings?
All right. So, I've been a cage fighter for 10 years.
What you what?
Cage fighter. So, I made a living, right? Now you're stepping back. One of the things everybody always said is, man, we should get this in one of our high schools.
So we can stop people from getting guns, or we can implement cage matches in this.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm for that. I'd advocate that in a heartbeat.
But is the March for Guns' real mission to expose a hidden truth about the March for Our Lives? This is the real march. That other march, DC?
Well, they were paid by liberal Democrats to go there.
Somebody paid for 500,000 people to go to DC today.
Absolutely. That's all over the internet. It's not a secret.
What about the Parkland students themselves?
They're actors. They're paid actors to say that.
It's hard to debate a subject when the opposite side
just got shot at.
Is shouting. And
shot at, not shot at. Just got shot at.
Those kids are shouting.
A lot of these guys are just crisis actors. They really are, though. They are. I mean,
so you don't think they're actual students of Parkland?
Do you?
Nicholas Cruz, how did he know how to target specifically the school where the crisis actors were attending?
Okay, so but you just opened up something that could be a conspiracy. I never thought about that before.
That's what we need, more conspiracies. But the conspiracy that I was onto was that even though this was a pro-gun rally, something seemed missing. Do you have your gun with you today?
No.
You go to a pro-gun rally without your gun. That's like being sober on Bud Light Island.
I did not wear my gun here today.
So if a gun makes people safer, why didn't you bring your gun here today?
That is actually...
Turns out the organizers told these folks not to bring their guns because they were worried about safety issues. For all of their guns, these Second Amendment were also pretty down with the first, which meant anybody could come up to the stage and speak.
I know Roy over here wants to say a word as well.
This is the march that all the cameras should be at. I've learned today that, guns make people safe. Which is why we didn't bring our guns today, because we understand that. But luckily, this rally ended the way all good rallies do, with a big-ass pizza party. And that's something I'll happily open carry. Speaking to you tonight from Harlem and New York City. And not the gentrified part with the white people and took it over with muffin shops. I'm in a church basement at 453rd Street where it's blacker than a Wu-Tang family reunion. And tonight, black people, we're here to answer one question. Where we is? We can also celebrate black shit's recent achievements in technology. Most notably, the shiny, shade-throwing Death Star that is Black Twitter. Black Twitter single-handedly destroyed H&M for selling a monkey hoodie. Corporate America used to just fear Jesse Jackson. Now they fear a retweet from anybody in a do-rag, and that's good. But remember, with great do-rag rights come great responsibility. That's why we're counting on you, Black Twitter, to continue the innovations in the field of slang. Never has black slang been appropriated so quickly. The other day, I heard two middle-aged white dudes calling each other thoughts. That word is gone. Push forward, Black Twitter, and create new words. Really black-ass words like Coco Shango. I'm just spitballing. I don't know what that means. Y'all figure it out. That finally brings me to the future of black shit. For the first time, an African-American woman will be speed skating at the Winter Olympics, and in 2018, there are over 400 black women running for public office. For black citizens, you ask, where we is? The answer is on our way to a place where the state of black shit is stronger than ever. God bless black people, God bless Gayle King, and God bless season 2 of Atlanta.
As you may know, online shopping has recently had a tough impact on the retail industry. And this week, it hit one of America's most beloved stores.
Toys R Us, the nation's largest toy store chain, filing for bankruptcy protection with the busy holiday season just around the corner.
The biggest toy store chain in the world.
Toys R Us kid.
Now facing a very grown-up problem, filing for bankruptcy and $5 billion in long-term debt.
The bankruptcy is among the largest ever by a specialty retailer, and it could usher in changes to the company's nearly 1,600 stores.
For more on this, we turn to our chief business analyst, Roy Wood Jr., everybody. Roy, as someone who's spent a lot of time in children's toy stores, what are your thoughts on this?
As a child, spent time in the store as a child.
Of course. So Roy, what happened? What did Toys R Us do wrong?
Well, Trevor, I think what happened with Toys R Us, honestly, it shouldn't surprise investors. Toys R Us didn't keep up with the times. It's right there in their slogan. I don't want to grow up. Well, you should have. Kids don't want toys now. They want gadgets. They're hacking WikiLeaks on their iPad. An Etch-a-Sketch doesn't even have Bluetooth. And even Amish kids are at Toys R Us like, Connect 4, where's the exploding hoverboards? Times are changing, bro.
Oh, that's a really interesting point, Roy.
Yeah, and that's not all. What's with that mascot? Stupid-ass giraffe? Jeffrey spells it with a G, like a douchebag. That's not a kid-friendly name. That's the name of a dude who makes his own craft beer under a bowling alley. He's got no swag. And then another thing with the stores. Look, I'm not surprised people stopped going to Toys R Us. The store is too damn big. When I was a kid, they had all the good toys up on the high shelf. My mama asked me what I wanted for Christmas one year. I said a forklift. Get up there. You know who did it right? The toy stores inside the mall. Now, Trevor, I know coming up in Africa, you didn't really come up around shopping malls.
Actually, we had some of the biggest shopping malls in the world.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about the ones with a roof. Look, at our malls, we had this place in our malls, KB Toys. It's way better than Toys R Us. And parents loved it because they could leave their kids in there while they shopped. Now, little Roy, I'm going to look for a nice dress to leave your daddy in. You stay here in the store. It was great, man. First of all, at KB Toys, the thing that made it so dope is that you could play with the toys because you could reach them. And the cashier was cool as hell. Dude, he didn't care if we were tearing up the toys. He was too busy trying to bang the girl over at Spencer Skips. And even when he caught me shoplifting, 3rd grade, he caught me shoplifting, he didn't call the cops. He just looked me dead in the eyes and he said, put the toy back before I beat your ass with it. And you know what I did? I put it back, Trevor. You gotta respect a man that's willing to whoop your ass with a plastic space shuttle. That was Toys R Us. I'd still be in custody, man.
Well, I will say this. The good news for Toys R Us is they are closing, right? They're using this bankruptcy to reorganize and start fresh. So let me ask you this. You are a new parent yourself.
Yeah, 16-month-old.
Right. How... you're a beautiful kid as well.
Class is expensive.
How could Toys R Us attract you as a parent into their stores?
Well, first of all, drive-through window.
Oh, that's a good idea, so you can pick up online orders.
Oh, to drop your kids off. I got stuff to do. There's no time to find parking.
So, wait, you'd be cool just dropping your kids at Toys R Us?
Might not know, but I mean, it'd be nice as the giraffe learned CPR. That put me at ease. I'd be all right with it then.
Wait, it sounds like you just want Toys R Us to provide you with free child daycare.
You want to survive in this changing retail landscape or not? You got to make drastic changes.
Okay, like what else?
Liquor license.
Come on, Roy, man. What kind of toy store has a liquor license?
One that's not in bankruptcy. Toys R Us sold booze. I'd go there after work, kid or no kid. Have a few beers, hop on the Power Wheels, man. It'd be nice. Welcome to CP Time, the only show that's for the culture. Today, we look back at legendary black politicians. John Lewis, Shirley Chisholm, Barack Obama, just a few of the icons we won't be talking about today. Instead, we look to those whose achievements are a little less appreciated by history. Let's start with 2012 Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain. Herman Cain was a businessman with a colorful personality and zero knowledge of world affairs.
When they ask me who's the president of Becky, Stan, I'm going to say, I don't know. Do you know?
Man trying to get elected by speaking gibberish. Herman Cain was ahead of his time. In fact, if not for Herman Cain, black men wouldn't be able to get on TV today wearing a cowboy hat while talking out the side of their face.
It is pitchfork and torches time in America.
Now let's turn our attention to Congressman Robert Smalls, a Civil War hero who is... All right. Some say that qualified him as being off the chain. Moving on. Let's turn our attention to Alan Keyes, another Republican and legendary politician. Keyes ran for national office in 1988, 92, 96, 2000, 2004, and 2008. All he do is lose. Like a bitch. The brother had determination. Hell, I'd be embarrassed if I lost 6 national elections. Hell, I'm embarrassed just walking through Joanne Fabrics. I go at night. Thank you very much. And finally, no discussion on black politicians would be complete without Marion Barry. Barry was elected mayor of Washington, D.C. in 1979. Was he a good mayor? Was he a bad mayor? Nobody will ever truly know. All we do remember is that the man smoked the crack. That's right. In 1990, Mayor Barry was arrested in a sting operation and caught on video smoking crack cocaine. He said he'd get drugs off the street. Word is born. It's our own damn fault for not asking him how. The city forgave him, and in 1994, he was re-elected with approval ratings as high as he was. The country was shocked, especially Alan Keyes. He was all angry. He was like, what the do I have to do to get elected? He's smoking crack over there. Barry went on to have other scandals. But if voters don't have a problem with you smoking crack, you basically have full immunity. That's why when I started this job, I showed up 2 weeks late. Gotta set that bar low. Now, nobody cares that I walk around the office in a nightgown. No walk in the park. They admire the handiwork. I'm Roy Wood Jr. And this has been CP Time. And remember, we're for the culture. Check out my Etsy page. Purchase your very own custom civil rights nightgowns. See you next time. Welcome to CP Time, the only show that's for the culture. Today, we're discussing the history of African Americans on screen. It's how the world sees us and how we're forced to see ourselves, not being in decision-making positions at the studio level, but that's not the point. Whether it's cleaning up for white people, or driving a car for an old white lady, or driving a car for a crazy white man, black actors have done it all. When we see a black character on screen, we're filled with pride. We're filled with hope for the promise of a new day. We also wonder, how long till they kill this nigga? Because every black actor at some point in his career gets killed. We have the on-screen survival rate of ribs at a barbecue. You'd think they'd at least let Denzel live, but no. He dies all the time, constantly. My personal favorite Denzel death is in the movie Fallen, where Denzel dies alone in the forest, like a bitch. Why was he even in the woods in the first place? I knew he was going to die once I saw too many trees. Ain't nothing in the forest for black people. But the history of black actors dying on screen is full of remarkable achievements. For example, did you know the quickest black death on camera was Omar Epps in Scream 2? The only black man to die before the title sequence. The movie hadn't even started yet, and the producers decided it was a little too dark in here. Jada Pinkett, get your ass out of there too. One way or another, all black actors succumbed to the scriptwriter's ink, except for one. LL Cool J. Movie after movie, LL Cool J hung on to the end credits. Caught Up, lived. Charlie's Angels, survived. Toys. I didn't see that one, but I heard he made it through. In fact, LL was supposed to get eaten in Deep Blue Sea, but out of respect for the streak, the shark ate Samuel L. Jackson. Game recognized game. Because life loves games.
Better find
Now,
Vegeta so I
some
can ask for
scholars
his
would argue
help.
that Mr. Cool J died in rollerball, but the truth is he fell and his body was never recovered nor seen on screen, leaving the death open-ended with room for a potential sequel or TV spinoff. So the CP Time Recognition Award goes to no one other than LL Cool J.
So, are you ready to begin your training?
Young black actors that it is possible not to get shot in the face or eaten or dismembered in every damn movie. Now, unfortunately, LL Cool J couldn't be here tonight because he didn't know he was getting this award. He never heard of this show, and also nobody would give him an email address. I guessed unprepared from NCIS. But all the time we have, this is the time. And remember, we are for the culture. See you soon. The only show that's for the culture. Today, we look back at legendary black politicians. John Lewis, Shirley Chisholm, Barack Obama, just a few of the icons we won't be talking about today. Instead, we look to those whose achievements are a little less appreciated by history. Let's start with 2012 Republican presidential candidate Herman Cain. Herman Cain was a businessman with a colorful personality and zero knowledge of world affairs. When they asked him, I don't know. Man tried to get elected by speaking gibberish. Herman Cain was ahead of his time. In fact, if not for Herman Cain, black men wouldn't be able to get on TV today and talking out the side of their face.
It is pitchfork and torches time in America.
Now let's turn our attention to Congressman Robert Starnes, a Civil War hero who escaped slavery by stealing a Confederate ship. Some say that qualified him as being off the chain. Moving on. Let's turn our attention to Allen Fields, another Republican and legendary politician. Hughes ran for national office in 1988, 92, 96, 2000, 2004, and 2008. All he did was lose. The brother has determination. Well, I've been embarrassed if I lost 6 national elections. Hell, I'm embarrassed with multiple grand marriage. I would have liked. And finally, no discussion on black politicians will be complete without Mary Levy. Mary was elected mayor of Washington, D.C. in 1979. Was he a good mayor? Was he a bad man nobody would ever truly know. All we do remember is that the man smoked the crack. That's right. In 1990, Mayor Barry was arrested in a sting operation and caught on video smoking crack cocaine. See anything going down the street? Word is born. It was our own damn fault for not asking him how. The city forgave him, and in 1994, he was re-elected with approval ratings as high as he was. The country was shocked, especially Alan Keyes. He was all angry. He was like, I have to get elected. This will be over. They all went on to have other standards. But if voters don't have a problem with you smoking crack, you basically have good immunity. That's why when I started this job, I showed up 2 weeks late. Gotta sit up on low. Now, nobody cares that I walk around the office in a nightgown. They admire the handiwork. I'm Roy with you. This has been CP time. And remember, you're for the culture. Check out my Etsy page. Purchase your very own custom civil rights nightgowns. Oh, welcome to CP time. The only show that's for the culture. Now, normally, when you think about African American innovation, you think about the peanut or movie trailer. But today, we're discussing the history of African Americans forgotten by time. Because black innovators have been contributing to America's economy from the beginning. And no, I'm not just talking about slavery. But let's talk about slavery. Jack Daniel's whiskey, for example. Now, you might think this fine Tennessee booze was invented by some goofy-ass white dude. And to be fair, Jack Daniels does sound like the name of a dude that fights raccoons. But did you know it was a slave who taught Jack how to make whiskey? That's right. Whiskey in the 1850s was taught to Jack Daniels by a former slave. His name was Nearest Green. The whiskey ended up being named after Jack Daniels, even though Nearest Green wanted to call it, hey man, drink this shit to get your mind off of slavery. After the Civil War, Nearest Green became America's first black master distiller. So, let's honor Mr. Green and the fruits of his labor with a toast. On to the story of Jerry Lawson, a self-taught engineer who invented the video game cartridge. Before Jerry Lawson, the only video game you could play was Mario. Look at this boring-ass video game. Action-packed. Jerry Lawson, with his invention, gave black people an escape from racism, much in the same way Nearest Green did with his Jack Daniels. So, let's toast to Nearest Green.
Wow.
Bitch. Finally, our last black innovator, Lonnie Johnson, an aerospace engineer who in 1982 invented the Super Soaker, an invention that brought joy to both children and wet t-shirt contest audiences alike. Anyway, the only reason I wanted to mention Lonnie is so that I could honor Nearest Green in the most efficient way possible. High pressure alcohol dispensing. That's right. Oh, Lordy, Lordy, right there. Yes, Lord. Woo. Lordy, Lordy. So there you have it. To black innovators, we say thank you. Now somebody bring me a soda because I got to get something to chase this with. Ooh, Lord. Welcome to CP Time, the only show that's for the culture. As we end Black History Month, we look back on the accomplishments of black women. And joining me for this episode is Dulce Sloan.
Thank you, Roy. Every episode.
I think you must be mistaken. CP Time is a solo show.
No. Check the tape. I was there when you talked about actors and black politicians, and I was right in front of you during the last one.
I apologize. My peripherals are not what they used to be.
Don't blame the cataracts, Roy. You forgot. Like a bitch. But it's okay. Black women have been overlooked in American history, but we've still accomplished great things. Like Madam C.J. Walker, America's first black woman to be a self-made millionaire.
No, I do believe that's Aretha Franklin, Dulce.
Just because Aretha's been in a first since 1973 doesn't mean she was the first millionaire. Madam C.J. Walker earned her millions in the early 1900s. That's old money. And she did it with hair care products, hair growers, scalp treatment, and of course, she revolutionized the hot comb.
So something like that doesn't happen again.
Smell of hot grease and laid edges on a Saturday morning.
You know, I have her to thank for all these scars on my ears. There's also Marie Van Brittan Brown, an innovator who in 1966, during the heart of the Civil Rights Movement, invented the home security system. Before her, when someone broke in, people just yelled, "Hey man, don't take my shit!"
But while her invention might have dramatically decreased theft, it didn't stop ADT from stealing the idea from her.
I'm going to see if you have what it takes to fill
We also can't forget Mae Carol Jemison, the first black woman to travel to space.
You know what I've always said, Dulce, is that more black people should go to space. Not even for science, just for safety. There's no police up there. I just want to thank you for bringing these wonderful pieces to the show. We often forget what black women did in American history.
History? We're forgetting black women now. Quick, tell me who founded the Black Lives Matter movement?
Well, that's very easy. Everyone knows that's D-Ray, the man in the blue vest.
D-Ray? No. The original founders were Elisa Garza, Patrice Cullors, and Opal Tometi.
Thank you so much. Wearing the blue vest?
No.
Okay, well, how was I supposed to know? Sound like a fashion problem. But there's only 30 minutes left here in Black History Month. And who knows? Maybe next year there won't be a need for this program because we would have reached the mountaintop. That is funny every year. I'm Roy Wood Jr.
And I'm Dulce Slow.
And this has been CP Time. And remember,
we're for the culture.
You don't get to say like a bitch. That's my phrase.
I mean,
this is my show. Hi. Welcome to CP Time, the only show that's for the culture. This week marks a wonderful anniversary for black people. It was today in 1999 that Jay-Z and Beyonce started dating. I'm just joking. Not only is that the wrong date, but that union was a terrible tragedy that benefited no one but Jay-Z. No, actually, this week marks the 50th anniversary of the Fair Housing Act of 1968, which meant landlords couldn't keep black people out of their apartments, proving once and for all that rioting works. That's right. We burned down those streets until they let us live in those houses that we burned down. Because sometimes injustice demands action. At the time, my neighbor Daryl kept parking his Miata in my parking space.
What do you think
until I righteously set that bitch on fire. Only thing was, it turned out that Daryl never drove a Miata.
Hey.
Whoops.
Huh? Yes.
And the good news is, many years later, black people are still affecting housing policy.
Right, yes.
This time from the inside. Just look at Housing and Urban Development Secretary Ben Carson, a man who's 30% black and 70% asleep. Last year, Dr. Carson tried to stop an Obama program that let poor people use housing vouchers in rich neighborhoods. Finally, after decades of racial discrimination, black people have reached the point where we can help to discriminate. We made it to the mountaintop, Martin. We're going to push these other Negroes off it. Now, the Fair Housing Act was just one of 3 major civil rights laws of that time. There was also the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This was the act that allowed black people to sit at the counter at Woolworths. A lot of young people don't remember Woolworths, but it was one of the rare department stores that also served food. Today, it would be like me eating lunch at a Ross Dress for Less, which I do. The third great civil rights law was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which let the federal government intervene in states that suppressed the black vote. It was a landmark piece of legislation. Or it was, until 2013 when the Supreme Court knocked down a huge chunk of it. They said it worked so well, we didn't need it anymore. The Supreme Court did the same thing that I did with my diabetes pills. They started working, so I stopped taking them. Keep taking something, and it's working. Hell, it's the best decision I ever made, because I got to have it. I got to have it, baby. That's all right, bro. And I'm back. So that's the story of the Fair Housing Act, the Civil Rights Act, and the Voting Rights Act, which together are like a Lord of the Rings trilogy for black people. Except for our Gollum, it's Jeff Sessions. Well, this has been CP Time, and I'm Roy Wood Jr. And as always, remember, we're for the culture. You want to see my Ben Carson impersonation? Welcome to CP Time, the only show that's for the culture. Now, it's no secret that black folks love us a good conspiracy theory. Like how rapper B.O.B. thinks the world is flat. But most deaf doesn't think Osama bin Laden did 9/11. Or how I believe that Khloe Kardashian is O.J. Simpson's secret daughter. Oh, that O.J. always leaving DNA everywhere. No wonder they call him the juice. But the conspiracy theories that unite all black people are about the government. Uncle Sam gets more blame than alcohol after a pregnancy test. Like the conspiracy theory that the government created AIDS, which I personally don't believe. We all know that the only man-made disease is kidney stones. Somebody's sneaking them stones up there. Think about it. Then, of course, there's black folks' suspicion that during Hurricane Katrina, the government blew up the levees on purpose to flood out poor black neighborhoods and spare the white ones. That's right. The government even turned water against us.
Very well.
I'd expect that from racist-ass lava, but not you water. That's why I only shower now with lime Gatorade. Who can you trust? Now, I know you white people out there, y'all laughing, y'all think black people is crazy and gullible. I can hear you chuckling. But this is serious. When you realize how many conspiracy theories against us turn out to be true. Like how black people with syphilis thought they were being treated, but were actually part of a government experiment. That's right. The government did medical experiments on black people, and we didn't even get any superpowers. If I'm gonna have syphilis, I should also get to be the She-Hulk or Syphilis Man or one of the new members of the Avengers. Fair is fair. And what about during the 1960s when we all said they were trying to sabotage Martin Luther King? And then in the 1990s, we found out that they were trying to sabotage Martin Luther King. They wiretapped him and released salacious transcripts of his most intimate moments of fornication with random women. I refuse to read a single word of that slang. So the next time you're fixing to laugh at a black, which brings me to the biggest conspiracy theory of them all. That Popeye's chicken is a front for the CIA. A 10-piece and sides for $20. Those are crack prices. And thankfully, I've been able to resist this product for years because I know better than to ever give in to... Oh my God. Oh my God.
I think I can take this guy.
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. I'm Roy Wood Jr. This has been CP Time. Welcome to CP Time, the only show for the culture. Today is the 50-year anniversary of track stars John Carlos and Thomas Smith's historic protest for equal rights at the 1968 Olympics. Not only did they take a brave stand, They made it stylish for black people to wear gloves. Sham fought crime in gloves. Michael Jackson danced in gloves. It was a trend that lasted all the way to 1995 when O.J. Simpson single-handedly killed him. Fact is, black athletes have often been our most prominent protesters because they've had such a big audience. Since sports is the only time a bunch of white folks stare at black people after cops getting caught. One of the first recorded black athlete protests was back in the early 1900s by boxer Jack Johnson, who boldly opposed racism by punching white men in the face and then dating white women. Trailblazer indeed. But sadly, many black athlete protesters don't get the recognition they deserve. For example, we may remember Carlos E. Smith, but at the very next Summer Olympics, track star Wayne Collette protested for civil rights by having a casual conversation to them, chatting like they were in line at 7-Eleven. What are you in line for? Justice! Oh, that's cool. I was just getting some Reese's Pieces. And we all know about LeBron James fighting for Black Lives Matter, but not many people know that in 2016, the entire WNBA Indiana Fever team took a knee before a playoff game to protest police brutality. The Fever lost that game, and I lost $400 betting them. I know what I owe you, Ricky. Stop getting my kids involved in this. Look at your money. And we all hear about Colin Kaepernick and his protests, but not everyone remembers NBA player Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who refused to stand during the anthem to protest American injustice against Muslims. Rauf's courage opened the door for people like Kaepernick to not only kneel, but to do it even blacker, while sporting an afro and cornrows, which according to scientists are two of the blackest hairstyles on earth. Jerry curl reigns supreme. Sadly, black athletes usually pay a price for their political protests. Wayne Collette was suspended for the rest of the Olympic Games. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf was suspended by the NBA. And Colin Kaepernick lost his job and was blackballed by the NFL. Even worse for Colin, he was punished by Nike with a big-ass endorsement deal. And you might not think getting millions of dollars is a punishment. It isn't. Until you start having aunts and uncles coming out of the woodwork asking you for money. One time I found a $50 bill on the street. By the end of the day, I had 6 new aunts. The whole thing cost me $200. You can't even divide that by 6. Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Roy Wood Jr., and this has been CP Time. And remember, we're for the culture. Hey, Colin, this your Uncle Roy. Can I borrow $400? That's a loan shark. He's not around with me. Welcome to CP Time. The only show is for the culture. We're coming to you from Florida. But next week, Andrew Gillum could become the first black governor of the state. He can pull it off. Andrew Gillum will join a long list of celebrated African Americans from Florida. Black people like Congresswoman Frederica Wilson, a tireless advocate who has worked to reduce dropout rates and who has been a groundbreaking pioneer in hat wear. She has hats for any occasion. The hat for when you're going to church, you then have to go to a rodeo right after. The hat for when you want to tell your enemies, well, you think you bad? Bitch, I killed a polar bear. And of course, the hat for when you just had to do it to him for no reason at all. Slay, Frederica. Slay. But it's not just politics. Florida has been home to some of our nation's great black writers, including Zora Neale Hurston, who has written many moving, inspiring, and life-altering novels that I intended to read one day. Not the least of which is Their Eyes Were Watching God, which I'm told is a book about a group of people looking up at the sky. Here's a brief reenactment. Florida is also the birthplace of black acting royalty like Sidney Poitier.
Right.
While most people associate him with the Bahamas, the truth is he was actually born in Miami, 2 months premature. His parents were here visiting, and I guess his mother was dancing too hard, and Portier came right on out of there. Moving on to sports. Liberty City in Miami, Florida has always been a hotbed of NFL talent, like Chad Johnson, Antonio Brown, and my Uncle Bebo. Uncle Bebo would have gone first in the draft in '72, but a gator got his foot. That's neither here nor there. We got that gator, and he died like a bitch. And finally, you can't talk about great black Floridians without talking about the music. First, there's the rapper literally synonymous with Florida, Flo Rida, whose music is loved by everyone. In fact, Flo Rida is the only artist you can hear playing during a drive-by and a spin class. It's all about that crossover appeal. But long before Flo Rida adopted his confusing-ass name, Miami Rap King's two-line crew made true history. Not just because of the black guy rapping with an Asian, but also in the courtroom after they were arrested on obscenity charges. But they defended the right to perform their butt-nasty lyrics on songs like Me So Horny, Hoochie Mama, and of course the classic, Face Down, Ass Up. And they won the case. And in doing so, they ensured all of our First Amendment rights. And the right to pop that pussy. That's all the time we have for today. From Florida, I'm Roy Wood Jr. Greetings. This has been CP Time. And remember, we're for the culture. Welcome to CP Time. The only show is for the culture. In honor of this week's Veterans Day, tonight we discuss the contributions of the black soldier. The only armed black people that everybody's comfortable with. Since America's birth, African Americans have proudly served this country, even in bondage. George Washington's personal servant during the war was a slave named William Lee. The two spent so much time together, William was even able to photobomb a painting of Washington. Lee and Washington's bond inspired many of the interracial action films we see today, such as 48 Hours, Men in Black, and Knight Rider. You know that car was black, and it had a spoiler. Many black Americans have made the ultimate sacrifice, even if by accident, as when the first shots in the Revolutionary War killed Crispus Attucks. Though not a member of any militia, Crispus is my favorite character to play in reenactment. Mostly because his part is so short and I get to go home early. Crispus, look out! Huh? Oh! Lord, I'd have died for these white people. Those were his actual last words. In the Civil War, black soldiers fought for the Union in regiments like the famous 54th Massachusetts Infantry. And even the Confederacy, upon realizing they were going to lose the war, started drafting black soldiers. The South learned the same lesson the NBA did in the 50s. If you don't have any black people, you ain't even in the game. Moving on. In World War I, the 369th Infantry Regiment fought so fiercely that the Germans called them the Harlem Hellfighters. And when a German says you know how to whoop ass, that means something. The Great War also provided many black fighters with their first chance to travel abroad. And once in France, our brothers in arms found something they had never seen before. Respect for white people. It was so enjoyable in Europe that a lot of black soldiers didn't come back, which I understand. I went to Belgium for 2 days, ended up staying the whole summer with Helga. Oh, she knew how to iron that Belgian waffle. Oh, my waffles. I was there for 3 months. Then my wife found out. I'm sorry, baby. Please let me come home. Please. World War II would be a similar undertaking for black soldiers, as the only N-word they heard overseas was Nazi. This war also introduced us to the Tuskegee Airmen, the first African-American military aviators. While history may tell you that there were 932 pilots, it should have been 933. My Uncle Bebo was supposed to be a Tuskegee Airman, but they ran out of planes, which is a shame because he would have put a hurting on them Nazis, but all they gave him was a bicycle. Couldn't even ride over there because of the ocean. And in the modern era, no discussion of black veterans is complete without Colin Powell, the first African-American general to become the Joint Chiefs Chairman and the first black Secretary of State. He helped lead America into the Iraq War, proving that a black man can ruin the Middle East just as much as a white man. That's what I call true equality. That's all the time I have for today. This has been CP Time, and I'm Roy Wood Jr. And remember, so if you're watching the I'd like to meet our child. Welcome to CP Time, the only show that's for the culture. Today, we discuss black people and the joyful festive holiday of Christmas. So let's start with slavery. Because remember, black people weren't celebrating Christmas before that. None of us were on the boat ride over here going, fa la 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 la, deck the halls. But once they were in America, many slaves began to see Christmas for the blessing that it was. A chance to escape while their owners were away for the holidays. The great abolitionist even used Christmas to free her 3 brothers, which may sound good to you, but if I let my sister free me around Christmas, I'd never hear the end of it. Every year she'd be like, oh, thank you so much for the slippers. This almost as good as the gift I got you last year. Not shackles. And I'd be like, shut up, Bernice. You ruined the holidays. Of course, music is an important part of Christmas. And black people have been covering and improving the classics for years. Like Let It Snow by Boyz II Men. Or Do You Hear What I Hear by Me. Here's a sample. Do you hear what I hear? Sounds like oppression. But some holiday music is tainted with a history of racism. Like the classic Jingle Bells, which at first just seems like an innocent song about reckless driving. But back in 1857, its first public performance was part of a minstrel show sung by a bunch of white dudes in blackface. It's a terrible legacy. That's why every time I see a one-horse open sleigh, I key that shit for justice. But it is also important to recall the true reason we celebrate Christmas. Santa. The breakthrough for black Santas was in 1943. When one of Harlem's biggest department stores hired the country's first black Santa Claus, which surely was a distraction for customers who didn't know what was going on. I'm sure they was all like, who's that nigga in the red jacket talking to my child? After that, black Santas took a 70-year L until 2 years ago in America, a victory for our people. Mostly because Larry used his employee discount to get all the black people he knew 20% off. A hero indeed. But Kris Kringle would be nothing without the gifts he brings. The toys.
Here we go.
Without the toys, Santa's just a fat bastard that broke in your house. And for decades, manufacturers didn't even consider making toys for black children. And when they finally did, some of them would just paint white dolls black. Like this Willie Talk doll. Look at that. Looks like Willie got thrown into a bonfire. But the great thing about kids is we are black would never forget, because children are not very intelligent. Like my favorite toy when I was a youngster was Mr. Chompy Chomp. Oh, I played with Mr. Chompy Chomp for hours. I make him gobble. I make him talk to me. He lose all his teeth. It took me 45 years to realize this. Mr. Chompy Chomp was a staple. My good friend Cornell West told me that. That's all the time we have for today. I'm Roy Wood Jr. This has been CP Time. And remember, we're for the culture. Make sure you put my website up at the end so people can order a compact disc and cassettes.
Yup.
Huh? What? Hey!
Nah.
No! I sure hope my Gohan is all right.
I'm worried about you too, Chi-Chi.
Looks like a pretty good cut of meat. Looks like someone wants to die. Should be able to go under that rock. Looks like someone wants to die. Looks like some... I'll make quick work of you.
Dinner pop. Special beam cannon. Damn it. Die! Die! Die!
So that's all, huh?
I got it!
Very well. Later! Huh?
Hello?
Hey! Huh?
Hello. Yeah. Hey. Yeah.
Yo!
Hi!
Huh?
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right, time for some treasure hunting.
I think I can take this guy. Hi there.
How that sounds?
I think I can take this guy.
Thanks a bunch.
No!
Greetings.
Hello.
Thanks a bunch.
Huh?
Huh? Oh, well now.
No one ain't no woman to me.
Hey.
Hi! Thank you so much!
Yes.
Excuse yes! What do you think? Huh? What?
No.
Huh? I need to start working hard too.
That'll do.
Unleash! I can't move!
This is more like it. I wasn't expecting to find something this good. Looks like someone wants to die. Looks like an oasis. Unleash your inner power! Die! Special beam cannon! Unleash your inner power! Hey. What is that? Well.
Yes.
Wow.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. Sure is quiet around. I bet this tastes really good. I bet this tastes really good. I bet this tastes really good.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Hey.
might be... All right. This looks pretty good. Better head back. All right. This looks pretty good. I bet this tastes really good. I bet this tastes really good. All right. This looks pretty good. Try this! Yeah! Try this! All right. This looks pretty good. Yeah. Yep. Yep. beautiful lake. I think I can take this guy. I think I can take this guy. I think I can take this guy. Take this guy. I bet this tastes really good. I think I can take this guy. I think I can take this guy. Maybe I should go fishing. All right. This looks pretty good. Yep. Yep. Thing looks super tasty. All right, this looks pretty good. I think I can take this guy. looks super tasty. What a huge waterfall. This thing's filled with power. There's a lot of energy in this thing.
wonderful. Thank you.
Hi, Gohan. Ready to come home? Finally got your priority.
Fine.
You'll be going to a respectable school one day. We can't...
Okay, school, huh?